Hi there, and welcome to this introduction to layers in Photoshop. And in this introduction, we're going to go through the basic elements of layers, why we should use them, and what they can do. So let's jump straight in. First of all, why would we use layers? And why not just work on the photograph as we see it in the desktop here? Well, there's a couple of reasons. The first one being, layers are a way of keeping your workflow organized and keeping your image organized. It's a way of keeping your work undamaged. For instance, if I work on this background here and save this, then this image is saved as Photoshop is what we call a destructive editing package. And what that means is when we save it, whether we're using the brush tool, the stamp tool, the clone tool, or for instance the erase tool, if we remove those parts of the picture and we save it, close the image down, that is it. When we open it again, we can't go back to its original state. However, by using layers, it allows us to save the work with layers on top of each other. For instance, like a stack of papers, one sheet on top of another, and we can use those, keep our work ordered, work on top of another layer without damaging the work below it. And it's a way of working on one layer without affecting any other layers below it. If we look at the image here, we have a flower, make it a little bit bigger so we can see it better, on a nice dark background. And if we look to the right hand side of the screen, you can see we have a background layer. Now, the background layer has a little padlock to the side of it, which means you can't delete this layer. It stays put. If you want to change that as you go along, click on the padlock and it disappears. And then to lock it again, click on the little padlock at the top of the palette. First of all, let's use our quick selection tool, W on your keyboard, and select the backdrop. So we're selecting the background, the black. What I can do with this, if I want to, is copy this, Command C or Control C, and Command V or Control V, and we will paste in a new layer above the background layer. And when we, on the right hand side here in the layers palette, the layer that's light grey is the layer that's active, and any work we do on this layer will not affect the one below it. If we make the one below it active, the work we do on this won't affect the one above it. You'll also notice a little icon by the side of it. And what this does, it turns on the layer and off. So when we turn on this top layer, nothing seems to happen. Turn off the bottom layer, we can see that we've selected the background and not selected the flower. I'm going to delete this layer by clicking on it and dragging it to the trash bin. Going back to our background layer, selected W again, and I've selected all the black. But the black again. What I'm now going to do is go to the top toolbar and go down and click Inverse. And what this does now, it changes the selection from being all around the black to the flower. We'll do the same process as we did before. Command or Control C to copy it, and Command or Control V to paste it. And you can see in the layers palette, we have a layer showing a flower. And if we undo the layer underneath it, you can see it's only a quick selection. That's all we need for this demonstration. If we use our Move tool at the top of the tool palette, now you'll notice that I keep my tool palette on the right hand side, whereas many people keep it on the left, and Photoshop default positions on the left. I like it on the right because this is where my hand and my eye work with nice and easy. Let's go to the top of the tool palette, select the Move tool, or we can use the V key. As you see, if we drag it, we can move that up a layer around, and it's not affecting the layer below it. So another thing we can do is transform that layer by pressing Control T or Command T, we get the transform tool up, and then we can resize it. And here's a tip for you: if you hold down the Shift key, it keeps the aspect ratio. You see, it's staying square as I pull it up and down. Back to V for the move tool, and then we can move that over here. And you see we now have 2 layers. Now the next thing we can do is we can copy this layer or duplicate it. We can go up here to the top toolbar under the layers tools and click copy, and it will give us a copy of layer 1. You can see it's named there, layer 1 copy. Or the other thing we can do is use the keyboard shortcut, which is Command or Control J. And there we are. We have a copy of the layer below us. Now, going back to V, the move tool, we can take that layer and move it over here. We can use the transform tool again to make it bigger. Now this time I'm not holding down the Shift key, and you can see how that works. So I'll hold down the Shift key. There we are, keeping the size. So we'll make that one a little bigger and press enter. Back to the move tool, and we can place that where we want to. So now we have a nice image with 3 flowers. Just to recap quickly, it's always the active layer that we are moving. So the highlighted layer, as you can see on the top right hand side, and that's always the layer that is active and being affected. Using the eye, we can turn off those layers as we wish to, even the background layer. We can also rearrange those layers to a different order. And it doesn't matter which order we have them, but just remember that the highlighted layer is the one that is active. But also, if we look here now, it's also the highlighted layer, or the top layer, that's the one that covers what's below it. So we can see this flower slipping under the layer that's above it now, even though it's not highlighted. If I leave it here, highlight this layer, this moves above it. If I drop it down in the layer stack, I'm still on this layer moving it, but now it slides underneath. So there we go. So that's a quick introduction to layers and how they work, and how multiple layers can affect an image. Let's just do one more layer. We'll duplicate the layer again, and we now have layer 1, a copy of layer 1, and then we have layer 1 copy 2. Let's rename these by double clicking, and we'll just name this as 3, 2, 1. So just quickly double click, and we can change the names like that. Now another thing that's really useful with layers, particularly when you're working on a large image where you might have 20, 30, 40, 50 layers sometimes, useful to group your layers together to help you keep organized. And one of the first things I said about using layers, it's a way to keep your work organized. So I'm just going to do that now. So as you see, we've made a duplicate layer, and the duplicate layers of this flower here. And what we'll do is we'll make a group. So how I do this is I highlight both layers, and I press Command or Control G, and we now have a group with 2 layers inside it. Once again, we'll highlight that and name it 2 flowers. Now, just as we can turn off an individual layer, we can turn off an individual group, like so. And also individually within the group. So it's a good way of keeping yourself organized.